Oh, now he knows he's hooked. But this is the guy right here. Oh, that was my last Alabama leprechaun mulligan. Oh, you're kidding me. Hey everybody, in this video we're going to talk about some more hacks to save money, and this is in response to a video I made a couple of weeks ago where we were talking about some hacks to save money on tackle, but there was a lot of great comments out there that I want to share with you. So the first tip that came in was from Bill K, and it says, "Thanks for the good information, Pat. Sometimes I put a small drop of super glue on a wore out soft plastic to give me a little more fishing time with it," and that is actually a really great tip. And there's a couple different ways that you can use super glue to help with plastics. So we all know what happens with plastics after you catch a couple of fish on them and they're rigged on a jig head or maybe even on a rigging hook. What happens is they get tore, especially if it's a big redfish or maybe even a big trout. The thing that happens is the soft plastic tears and the lure just doesn't act right. And what we can do is when we go to put the lure on the jig head, we can actually use a small drop of super glue to attach the lure itself to the jig head, and that'll keep it from sliding down. That in itself is a great tip to actually prevent the plastic from getting torn. But what it can also do is after that plastic is torn, you can put the super glue on there if you didn't do it the first time and keep that jig head in place. That's a great tip. Another thing that you can do with the super glue is if the lure gets torn, if it gets a rip on the side or something like that, it's causing the lure to not act right, not swim right in the water, you can use a little bit of super glue to actually glue it back together, and you can get a little more life out of it that way. Now this is a really good hack when it comes to, you know, you get out there on the water and there's only a couple of the lures that you're really getting a lot of fish on, you're catching a lot of fish on, and you're getting down to those last couple of them. And we've all been in this situation before where, you know, we're trying to salvage the lure, and this will really extend that bite. Now another tip that coincides with this when it comes to repairing your lure, in case you don't have any super glue with you, you can actually fix the lure with a lighter. And this was a tip that was sent in by Thomas M, and it says, "In a pinch I would use a lighter to melt the plastic. Do it carefully so the plastic doesn't burn. It does heal doing it right." Honestly, I've never used this tip before, so before I made this video I was actually taking some lures and cutting them and gluing them back together and then, you know, melting them and see if it works, and it actually does work. There's a couple of different things that you can do. If you get a tear in it, like, you know, you get a big fish that tears that lure, you can actually take a lighter and just be really careful with it, and you can heat up that plastic, put it together, hold it in place for a little while, and once it cools down, it's actually reformed and it does a really good job. Also, where the top of the hook comes out of the lure, sometimes that gets torn up and the hook won't stay in place. By doing this same trick, by taking your lighter and melting that plastic, it actually adds a little bit life into that lure, and you can use it a few more times before having to replace it. Now the types of plastic that I was using this on was your normal plastisol, which is like our Slam series, but most of your soft plastics that are out there. Now that fancy TPE material, that really stretchy material that is commonly used with the Z-Man products, I tried using this and I didn't have any success with it. So just a question, if you guys have used this tip on Z-Man products or like Z-Man products with that TPE material and you've had success with it, go ahead and put those in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you and see what the little trick was that made you have success with it, because it really didn't work for me. Now this next hack I want to share with you, this is something that I've done before and it works really well, and that is every once in a while whenever you have some soft plastics, and this could be any type of soft plastic, could be the plastisol that we make our lures out of or that Z-Man material, sometimes they will get kinked up when they're in the bag and they'll get misshapen. They won't swim right no matter what you do or no matter how you rig it up. One of the things that we can do is we can straighten these out by putting them in hot water. Now one of the easiest ways for me to do this is I will actually take and boil some water. I'll boil some water in my kettle, and then I'll take my soft plastics and I'll put them in a bowl that'll take the boiling water, and then I'll pour the boiling water in there to heat the plastics up. Now before the plastics cool down after they're nice and hot, I'll lay them nice and flat where I want them to be in the positions that I want, so whenever they cool down they will actually take their original shape. So whenever you go to use them, you know, they're going to swim right, they're going to rig up the way that you want them to do. So don't throw your lures away if they get misshapen. Go ahead and try this little trick out, and I think you'll like the results. Another way that you can straighten them out is you can use a hair dryer, but it takes a little bit longer, but all you need to do is just heat them up. You can also put them on the deck of your boat or your kayak if you're out in the sun, or even just set them outside, but put them in a position where they're going to get nice and warm, and after they get warm you want to straighten them up in their original position that you want them to be in, and then let them cool down and they'll retain their original shape. Now, this next tip is something that's a little bit more advanced. If you've got the know-how how to do this, or if you just really want to learn how to do it, there's a lot of videos on YouTube that can teach you how to do this, and that is to melt your lures down. And this tip was sent in by Gordon M, and it says, I save all of my used soft plastics because they can be remolded. So basically what he's doing is he's taking his soft plastics. I'm assuming his colors are going to be all light colors. So if he's got a Slam Shady pile, he's going to put all his Slam Shadies together. And what he can do is he can melt these down, and he has a mold that you can go ahead and create new lures with. That way you can get more use out of that soft plastic. You don't have to just throw them away once they get tore up. So before I go into my next hack, which happens to be one of my favorite hacks, I want to talk a little bit about where this information came from. So here at Salt Strong, we have an insider group that is over 40,000 people strong. When I made this video that was talking about hacks, in the comment section, a lot of these tips came from that. We are a group of anglers that are helping each other out. So whether it's to save more money or to catch more fish or to catch bigger fish, that's what we do here at Salt Strong. So if you are having an issue, if you're not happy with the quantity or the quality of the fish that you're catching, I really recommend that you join us at Salt Strong in the insider community, where we can help you out. We can help you catch more fish by showing the technology, showing the spots that you need to be fishing, and then what you need to be doing when you get to that spot and the lures that you need to use. So again, check us out at saltstrong.com in the Insider Club. Hope to see you there soon. Now, on to my next hack, and this one happens to be really creative. This one was sent in by Donald B, and it says, great information, Pat. I have a hack that I use all the time, that I have some small willow blades and some small Colorado blades and screw lock springs. When the tail of my paddle tail gets bitten off, I screw the blades into the bait, and it works really well to give them that extra little flash, and I've caught a lot of fish on them. Now, I have used this same tip before, but it's something that I haven't used that often, but it does add a little bit different flash, or a little pizzazz, if you will, on these lures. Now, what this hack is there are these little attachments that you can put in the back of your soft plastic. I have some that are pre-made. They're made by H&H, but basically it's a little blade, a little willow leaf blade or a Colorado blade that has a little screw lock attachment that whenever the tail gets bitten off, you can trim up your lure to make them a little bit thicker, so you can screw in the attachment in the back of it, and that way you can take a lure that was a paddle tail and turn it into a tail spinner. And this works really good on a lot of different species. I've caught trout, redfish, and flounder all while using this. Matter of fact, there are some lures that are pre-made from the manufacturer that are this way. So instead of taking your lures that had the tail bitten off by little nuisance fish, you can actually turn them into something like this and give them some more life, and that way you can save some money and actually give the fish a little different look. This is a really cool hack. Now, along with this hack, I'm going to go ahead and give you a bonus one that's kind of mixed in with this one, and that is, just because your paddle tail gets bitten off by one of those little nuisance fish doesn't necessarily mean that the lure is not going to work anymore. The lure can actually still catch fish. All you have to do is, instead of doing a straight reel or however you're working that paddle tail, you can work this lure like a jerkbait, maybe give it some twitches or some pauses, and it can still catch fish. Especially if the fish are actively feeding, you don't necessarily have to take the time out to change that lure onto a new paddle tail. Just keep using the lure, and I bet a lot of times you're going to still catch fish on that. So it's a good way to save that lure and catch more fish without having to change it out. Now, going back and talking about that video where all this information came from, where the comment section came from, the #1 commented hack was the one where we were talking about buying in bulk, and that was the one way that you can save a lot of money. And that is, if you find a lure that you like, that is your confidence bait, see if you can buy it in bulk. So instead of buying small 5, 6, or 7 packs, see if they make it in a 25 or a 50 or 100 pack. And we do have stuff like that at fishstrong.com, where we sell our lures in 100 packs. So if there's something out there that you have a confidence in, you know, your confidence bait, whether that be the Slam Shady 2.0, whether that be a mulligan or a power prawn, we do have these available in 100 packs. So the price per piece is going to be a lot less that way if you do that instead of just buying a bunch of the smaller packs. So check that out at fishstrong.com. Well, I hope you learned a lot from this video, and if you got any questions or comments, go ahead and put those down below, and I really appreciate you watching. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye.